rolling physical dice.
Oh, the rolling physical dice is fine. I trust you all. Welcome to session 3 of 4, Shadowrun, World of Shadows, Bug City. We are now getting into the Bug City element of things now that our Shadowrunners have faced down the harrowing Universal Brotherhood and sort of uncovered this conspiracy that's been boiling under the surface. And we have it on tape. But some events have transpired in the meantime. We are now 3 weeks after the events of session 2, and some stuff has sort of happened in that interim that I want to discuss. First of all, made it out of the Universal Brotherhood chapter house alive in your van with a bound and gagged insect shaman, along with video evidence of what you encountered in the basement of the chapter house, which is a lot more than people might have been expecting you to have. Additionally, you had an opportunity to drop off blood at the preordained dead drop that you had already arranged with Daniel Simpson, we'll say, and you were able to get paid for that, which was 1,500 new yen, which was what you arranged before. Everything worked well. You might have found a little note from Daniel that was talking about how he'd worked things out with his wife, and in lieu of marriage counseling, they were attending some Universal Brotherhood meetings at the Lakeview chapter house, right? So, that continues on. But after all of these events, after the explosion at this chapter house that was made, sort of set off a chain reaction, right? Over the course of time, pretty quickly, these bug spirits sort of started to awaken out of their slumber, get a little antsy, so to speak, no pun intended.
I see what you did
there. Chicago has become quarantined. The military forces of the United Canadian and American States have come to lock down Chicago. And the means of which they've done this is by basically demolishing all of these buildings in the sprawl in a square, essentially, around Chicago. And so they have created what's called now the Wall among the residents of the containment zone, where the outside is monitored by military forces, police forces, helicopters, choppers, mages, all these sort of things. It's kind of unclear what they're trying to keep in or out. The media that you managed to collect before the Matrix blacked out in the city, people are thinking it's a new strain of Vitas, which is the plague that sort of overcame the country not too long ago, that decimated the population for a time. So they're thinking that this is why it's being contained. Not a lot of people have heard about these sort of bug spirits, right? That's kind of crazy. But you all did not manage to make it out of the city in time, of course. It's a pretty large city. And also, unfortunately, did not get a chance to disseminate your information, Cloud Kills, that I'm sure you're burning to get out to the people. So because of this Matrix blackout and power blackout, you've been unable to share your evidence. So that might be something you might be interested in doing. We, I think, find our Shadowrunners at a haven that's been built up for the people of the containment zone. It's called the Haven, aptly named, and it's located in the Wrigley Dome, which is basically Wrigley Field, but in the future has been updated with a plastic transparent dome. Popular sports arena, probably used for combat biking and stuff like that, the more futuristic sports of 2055, but now it's being used as a refuge camp. Make sense? You know that not too long ago, maybe a few days ago in this 3-week advanced time period, a tactical nuclear device was detonated in the city near the Cermak power plant. Okay. You all, with your hands-on experience of the bug spirits, might be thinking it might be involved with that, right? That someone was targeting a hive. It's not a bad assumption. But it has left all of the spirits in a state of torpor, hibernation, so to speak. Okay. So if you had the ability to look into the astral plane, you would see these dormant sleeping spirits, right? And if you didn't, well, yeah, kind of like that, right? But it's also not very pleasant to look into the astral plane right now because there's a lot of bad juju going on. So there are still lots of bug spirits, and they have surfaced, and they're no longer trying to hide. But unless you get up close to them, they might not be active or awake. They might be more sluggish than normal. But that can be a dangerous assumption to have because there's lots of people out there getting eaten by bugs. Okay? It's not the only dangerous thing in containment zone. Aside from economic problems, food shortages, things like that, lack of access to power, clean water, demolished buildings, riots, things like that. We also have some gangs and warlords that have sort of sprouted up in this zone to try to seize power in this area. So this is practically a post-apocalyptic environment that you're in, surrounded by a wall, outside of which people are still living in their arcologies and going about their lives and thinking that, Chicago's perhaps a lost cause. It's been a few weeks. You're starting to think that maybe help is not arriving. But I want to hear more from you all about the Haven. I want to get some details from you. I think the Haven is run by a former member of Lone Star, a former captain. Probably were able to kind of get in there thanks to your connection with Bogey. Probably knew them, old friends with them, and now you've managed to get yourselves a spot in the Wrigley Dome. Bogey's off busy maintaining wards, developing magical security, right? He's one of the few mages here. Lots of magical bad stuff out there, so he's kind of busy working on keeping that up. But I was wondering what role you think each of yourselves are playing, how you're contributing to the livelihood of the Haven and its residents.
I guess
as soon as you think of something, go ahead and introduce your character for the audience and tell us what they're up to.
Right. So I'm playing Ace. I was a smuggler out in Seattle. I was running with the Laesa there, and I had to escape to Chicago because of something going on and wasn't too sure what it was with them. And I haven't been in Chicago very long. Did sign on with this team. Took part in the previous operation, and yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And I think I would probably be falling back on old ways and trying to find a way to get involved in smuggling runs past the CZ, past the containment zone. Yeah.
I think that you have had some trouble with that. Anytime someone manages to take a hacked attack chopper from some corporation that's now in ruins, you've been hearing a lot of people getting shot down. Nobody wants anybody getting out.
Yeah.
By the orders of the president.
Yeah, no,
But you're
I mean,
working on
I
your
understand.
plan.
I just think that would be the first thing he would turn to. Ace would turn to in this situation is like, okay, well, can I do this? Because it's the one thing I'm really good at. But
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. I am not sure how the rules for fighting spirits work, but what I'd like to take for a new special ability is the ability to sort of get rid of any um, penalties in killing them.
So when it comes to fighting spirits, you've sort of learned from Bogey and your own experience that fighting spirits is sort of like pitting your um, ego and sense of identity and personality against theirs, which comes with a sense of determination in your attack. Usually, using like a handheld weapon has more passion involved with it than using a gun does, because that's a bit more cold and distant. So it's something kind of more from your charisma. Um, but I could see you having, where do you think your ability to tap into that would come from?
Well, I mean, I'm fine with the source. It's just one of those things where I'd like him to be better at it. Because, like you say, he ticks the boxes for, he already has important to him handheld weapons and a good charisma. So is there any other edge that, you know, makes sense for putting spirits down? Like a stunning attack or something that, allows you to do a called shot straight to its essence or, to bypass its appendages and just strike at its essence.
I think we could call it like armor piercing, basically, right?
I mean, part of it is I don't know the mechanics for spirits, so it's kind of hard to come
Yeah.
up with a special ability for it. I just want to be able to kill spirits better. How would that look?
Well, little peek behind my notes, right? Most of these spirits have 2 armor by default. Tougher ones might have more. So we'll just
Well,
say that,
armor piercing be cool. Yeah.
yeah, you have 2 armor piercing against spirits
Okay.
when you use one of your dice show.
Sure. And maybe one if I use a different handheld weapon.
Okay, yeah, we could do that.
Okay.
So with that ability, have you been kind of working with some of the security types to
Yeah,
train
because
them?
Sharper's natural instinct is he lives off the grid all the time. He's sinless. So, he lives on stolen utilities in a forgotten corner. There is no rent. There is no, you know, there is no meshing into society as it is. So when it goes all post-apocalyptic, the idea of going to live with the civilians in a concentrated area is weird. That's kind of counterintuitive for him. So I guess the main reason that he would go is out of a general sense that he does have something to contribute as far as reducing the number of victims. And, it is a compassionate act to donate what he can do that other people with machine guns can't. So I think what he would do is find a place in the dome, a grid in the dome, as far as basements, and stake out his territory to the point of um, he will stencil a katana on the wall at the edges of his territory. Seriously, people,
You got your
knock,
dojo.
knock. Um, don't just come in here, or you might have your head lopped off. That's just a thing that might happen.
Sure.
And so he's going to focus his effort. These things burrow. So he's going to meditate. And when he feels them coming near to some edge underground, then he will meet them there. So he's going to help keep the foundation.
I think we might be seeing the stirrings of some latent magical adaptability coming through here in Sharper, but that's an interesting idea. We don't have to necessarily.
It is not surprising to see the stirrings of such activity as one grows closer to the end of natural death. At that point, the veil between life and what is beyond it begins to thin as the things on the other side that are waiting to welcome you come close.
I like that. That's very intriguing. Cloud Kills, you are in a bit of a Sticky Wicket in that you are a hacker who has no access to the local grid, which has been seems purposefully shut down by someone. And there's not necessarily a lot of electricity going on around here, so even local machines you probably have difficulty interacting with. So what is Cloud Kills doing around the Haven to sort of keep her ticket, so to speak?
So I think she's going through a bit of a shift in her focus. So before, I mean, she's still a conspiracy theorist, and she's still looking at, the feint within a feint within a feint kind of element to why this is happening, and the wheels within wheels kind of thing of why this is happening. But being forced to live within the Haven around all these people who are suffering and deprived, and seeing all these petty warlords take over, I think she's started to become more interested in the human angle. I think this is something that came out during the time that she spent in the Universal Brotherhood's chapel as well. So she's getting more interested in the human angle, and she's basically begun filming and documenting the experiences of the people within this containment area. She hasn't been able to get that word out, but she's sort of compulsively recording everything that she's seeing at this point. So that when she does get a chance to let other people know, she can get that information out to where it can make a difference. So I think a day in the life of Cloud Kills in the containment unit containment zone sees her going from family to family and doing interviews, one-on-one interviews with people who are in need of food and water, and their families, and children who don't have enough to eat and drink and whatnot. I think that's what she's spending her time doing.
Very interesting.
If you guys want to set up a recharge station and like a server backup in Sharper's territory, you can do that.
And yeah, I could see her. I could see that happening. I could see her plugging in her camcorder, her like somewhat beat up at this point camcorder every night using your facilities.
Because you don't want to lose everything if somebody slaps the camera out of your hand and it shatters.
Right.
And I'm assuming that whoever's in charge of this place, I mean, Sharper would have a polite conversation. He would do a tea ceremony for them so that we're all being civilized and say, I need my space. We can do that, right?
You're meeting here with Director Proudfeather, Anna Proudfeather, or you gotta give her a different name because Anna's already being used. Tanya. You're meeting with Director Tanya Proudfeather as the title that she has taken. She's saying she appreciates the tea ceremony. She doesn't necessarily know it herself, but she tries to kind of follow your lead.
Well, it's just one of those things where I want to, be polite and say I need some space, and in exchange, I'll offer goods and services.
Well, that's how we do things around here at the Haven. You need to sort of make your way. There's lots of people out there who need, and we can only provide for so many of those. Therefore, if you can provide something yourself, you can have this space. As long as you're passing along some of your experience with my men and my guards who are patrolling and protecting this place, I think that you will be welcome here, along with your friends.
Are the spirits edible?
How could you ask such a horrible thing?
Well, no, I'm asking the game master. This is something Sharper would experiment with.
Well, I think we kind of determined that their innards and guts sort of like ooze and fizzle and acid out.
So they have their husks. Part of the question is, how fast does that happen when they're killed? And is there time to get good meat out of them before the barriers break down?
I would guess no.
Okay.
There's still plenty of rat on a stick around if you're desperate for some grizzly.
Just saying, these things are donkey sized. I mean, that's a lot of material.
Yeah. I think whatever you could find would be inedible and acidic and would probably burn out your colon. You could theoretically slap together this chitinous armor. It's probably about as durable as any good, sort of
Kevlar stuff.
Kevlar, plastic, whatever, right?
Well, and I have my armor, so it's not for me, but I'd like to, harvest it and turn it over.
Yeah.
They got lots of free time to figure out how to put this together.
I don't know if everyone is willing to don your armor, but
Well, how many people are here? I mean, we're talking thousands, right?
so Wrigley Dome, I'm imagining Wrigley Field has probably I don't even know how many occupants they would have at any Cubs game, right? Um,
41,000.
Yeah, so we'll say right now there's probably about, upwards of 8,000 people here then, wouldn't there be?
So basically, if 10% of people have any interest, that's a huge number. If
Yeah.
1% have any interest, that's more than I can supply. So, I mean, I don't need everybody to like it.
Yeah. If you're out there hunting bugs, I mean, since they're in torpor now, I don't know if they're necessarily coming to you.
Well, I mainly pay attention to the foundations, when they're coming underground.
Right.
And if
They
they
don't
don't
seem
come
to be
underground, that's great. But I
Yeah, they
figured,
don't seem to be expanding right now. Maybe it's because of that disruption that you experienced not too long ago with the nuclear stuff. But I think you're more likely to face incursions from these gangs and warlords. I think that's kind of what you're looking out for. And hey, these bug skeletons are pretty decent at stopping bullets too. So,
well, if anybody is posing a credible threat, then I'm happy to assassinate their leaders.
we'll consider that. Yeah, we'll definitely be looking into that. Ace, though, I think Director Proudfeather has come and set you aside. So I have a special task for you. I've heard about your expertise, and yes, was once law enforcement. Now, the form of law that I enforce here is a little bit different, but I'm willing to look aside your criminal past and your sinless nature to get some help from you.
Oh. What kind of help would that be?
I have a contact outside of the containment zone, very wealthy contact, who's trying to rescue, let's say, his daughter from this place. And while I don't think we have the resources for any sort of mass exodus, and I don't know if I'd want to do that, because we all here know the true danger that lies in Chicago, and I don't think the rest of the UCAS is ready to experience that. But if we could get a few out, we could get out myself, this child, your squad. I think you could be rewarded handsomely. And you could put all of this behind you.
So, Director, you would be accompanying us?
Well, that's part of the deal.
Understood. Well, that's a vote of confidence. What
I've
kind
done
of...
a lot. I've done a lot to build this haven up. And a lot of it was to help you, of course. But through my efforts, I also managed to locate this child. And I think that I should be rewarded for all of my hard work, don't you?
Oh, of course, Director. I'm sure everyone in the UCAS, and especially in Chicago, is more than appreciative of your great efforts.
Indeed.
I was just wondering, what kind of ride are we talking about here?
That's what I was hoping to ask you about. We know that the military have positioned attack choppers, tanks, SAM missiles, anything you could think of to discourage aerial escape. They have mounted snipers, men with machine guns waiting to shoot anyone who would crawl over the wall. There could be weak points. It's hard to patrol the entire wall at any one point, but we haven't been able to intercept their communications yet. We do have access here to a portion of the elevated train, the L, but of course there's been damage there, and there's some overturned cars, and that could take a lot of work as well. But you, I've heard, were a smuggler for the Laisa.
Yes.
I've known them to pull off a couple of clever things in the past. So you get back to me on that. We can talk about your cut.
If I could get in and out of the tier on a regular basis, I'm pretty sure I could make one run out of here.
Don't be too cocky, Flyboy. There's lots of guns out there. So, Cloud Kills. I think that you've been speaking with these different families, and you've been hearing stories about the different gangs, violent people that they've encountered on the outside, that they managed to escape from, the family was killed by. You hear about two major warlords tend to be repeated primarily. You have King Khan, as he has called himself. He calls himself the ruler of the Orks, and he has what he calls the Ravenous Horde. It's a gang of mostly orcs and trolls that they have a whole arsenal of cars and bikes that they have retrofitted with plates and spikes and all that kind of crazy stuff. And they're trying to take over their little corner of the containment zone. There's not much of a police force left here except for what people police on their own. So you know that there's them. And they hate humans and they hate elves. So, that's King Khan. And then you also have somebody who's calling themselves Catherine the Terrible. Okay. Catherine's a bit of a mystery. She's a little bit gone mad, some people say. But she seems to have an oddly well-equipped gang and force kind of beneath her thumb. So you know about those two groups. They're the kind of big players outside of the Haven right now.
What's Catherine the Terrible doing? Is she just trying to expand and gain territory as well?
Yeah, they're both kind of. I think Catherine seems to be a person who's trying to claim territory, and this is my land, whereas King Khan is sort of a little bit more of a chaotic force, just sort of reveling in destruction, and this new world order of orcs are kind of coming back, and they've been kind of forgotten by society, and now that they're going to take their rightful places in power, right? So
okay.
Catherine seems to be a little bit more interested in her own power and prestige. But they've both been claiming some territory.
Okay.
Sharper, you and Cloud Kills are practicing meditation. That sounds about appropriate, right? You receive a vision. I would like you to roll 2d6 plus, we'll call it willpower, as a measure of wisdom or something like that. I want to see how clear this vision you get is.
10.
Okay. Your vision starts as sort of a mountain, right? A mountain peak. And then you kind of zoom in on the mountain peak, and there's a tower at the top of the peak, right? And at first it seems like sort of like an ancient Japanese archery tower, but then you zoom in and things come more into focus as you focus more and more on this tower. You see that it's a communications tower, right? It's like a tall steel structure with X's kind of formed along the sides, right, to keep it supported, radar dishes and things like that. What appears as a terrible darkness at the very top of this tower, as you focus more and more, and this is starting to kind of hurt your brain a little bit, you hear buzzing, and you see dark shapes sort of flying in and out of this cloud of darkness at the tip of this communications tower. So, what this means to you is that you have this sort of spiritual mental connection to a location in the containment zone that could serve as a means of delivering a message or a certain video file out to the world or an outside contact or resource. But there's some bad juju connected to it too. Okay. Anyone else have any scenes in mind that they're hoping to frame here with this knowledge? Or plans, desires, hopes? What are we thinking?
So yeah, I think that Ace is probably looking into the possibility of using some kind of mini sub to get out of the containment zone. So I'm trying to see if I can get my hands on one. Yeah.
I think that's a good idea because I don't think there's a lot of patrols happening out in Lake Michigan because people figure if you go start swimming, you're not going to make it, right? So they don't have as many patrols out there. But getting a mini sub could be difficult.
Oh yeah.
But that's a good idea.
I think it's probably some owners of mini subs, whatever few mini subs were in Chicago, probably maybe had the same idea and used it to get out. But I'm going to see if I can track one down, even though it's going to be tough.
Okay. So what would tracking one down look like for Ace, knowing that you don't have access to matrix databases?
Mm-hmm.
Would this be like going to the port and just looking around, or?
I think the place he'd start would be like the Elven underworld. He'd probably be going and kind of like introducing himself in Sparethiel and trying to like say like, hey, look, I may be from Seattle, but I'm one of your people, and I'm looking for some information.
Okay. Andrew, you had a question about cybers like headjacks and stuff like that. You still have all of your technology available, just don't really have access to. There's no EMP or anything that like disable that stuff.
Right. I guess my thought there is that there are probably, let's say, 2% of people in Haven have like some kind of neural jacks and neural storage units that are going to have masses of repositories of information.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we still have tremendous computing power. It's just in people instead of machines here. So, I mean, if you wanted to have like, blueprints of the city, stuff like that, there are probably people here who have that in there.
Yeah, and like there's probably still, corporate facilities that are like that have offline data banks, backups that are available. I think there's data to be had in the city, but I figure like if there are corporate enclave, like I mean, I'm sure there are corporate enclaves. I forget which corps are operating in Chicago right now, but
yeah,
like I'm pretty sure they would be like basically also in like quarantine mode and like have some pretty serious defenses going on. I don't think they would just abandon their enclaves and leave, right?
There's a fair chance that they fought and lost.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, we could look for ruins.
Some sort of hostile takeover within.
Of course, yeah. I don't know that I've been consulted in this, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that like first I want to kind of get the lay of the land. That's why I'm going to my elven kin who might be a little bit more savvy than me because they're locals.
So this Elven Underground, is this a portion of the inhabitants of the Haven that are Elven that sort of stick together, or is this like their own secret base headquarters that you know the signs to look for to find outside of Haven?
Well, I think that like there must be some Elven gangs that operate in the city. Like they're not the Lesa because like the Lesa are just in Seattle, but like
What about the
maybe
Ancients?
distantly affiliated, like some kind of similar mafia organization. That's kind of what I'm looking for. And yeah.
Okay. So, yeah. So, where would you start to look for those? Would you talk to elves within Haven?
Yeah, I think that's where I'd start. Yeah, definitely. Because like people know people. That's where, yeah.
So you're hoping to get information from the Elven Underground to sort of figure out resources that you might have in order to get this mini sub.
Yeah.
Cool. I want you to roll 2d6 plus charisma to sort of get the word out and see how that goes. But Cloud Kills, you said you seem to. Do you have an idea, or do you have something you wanted to share?
Oh, I was just saying that the big Elven gang that's kind of like all through North America is the Ancients. Like if you just want to use that as a title.
Yeah.
They don't like us very much, but hey, I could just say like, hey, I used to be in the Lakes. Yeah, formerly of them. Cool. Cool. Yeah. That totally makes sense. That's probably who I'm going to.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna make that roll.
Go for it.
Oh shit! Snake eyes. Snake eyes.
Ooh. You kind of are talking things out, and you hear it's kind of bad news. A lot of your extended family who live here in Chicago, the mafia, right? Your cousins of cousins. Most of them have been taken out by King Khan. They were kind of the first that he targeted when things were, upheaval, right? You do hear about one Elven gang that might be able to help you out. Small gang, all female. They call themselves the Mantids. Right? They ride around on bikes. They seem to have, no fear. They might be able to give you more information about locations outside of Haven. They might be able to offer you safe travel, but we're not quite
So
sure.
they're basically like a go gang, though, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right.
Basically.
I don't know how much use they would be in getting something this obscure, but I'm gonna maybe think like so do they have are they just like out in the city? Do they have people in the field itself? What's the situation there?
I don't think that they necessarily have any sort of like members here in Haven. They're probably not looked upon highly by Director Proudfeather. But you're given like the location, the whereabouts of their like little HQ.
Okay.
Or whatever.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a little think here and try to think what a better angle at this might be, because I might investigate that lead, but I might also do something different.
Okay. So Sharper and Cloud Kills, you've had this vision. What was your reaction to that? This sort of shared vision here, Cloud Kills.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that that she was seeing the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, you were a participant in the guided meditation.
Okay. So, I mean, I think her first reaction is going to be that any way to actually get information out of the containment zone is going to be a top priority for her. So that impression that she got that this could be a way to disseminate information is going to be something that she's going to hunt down very actively. So you said that we got the impression that this building was a physical location we could go to send information. Is that right?
Yeah, like a communications tower.
Okay, so she's immediately going to begin subtly asking the people who have been here, the long-term inhabitants, where that might be, if she hasn't already seen a place that looks like that.
I think that, Sharper, you have like a general feeling of like northeast. It's almost like a magnet that you're drawn to, but you couldn't point it out on a map.
Is that would Cloudkills know if that area, that kind of northeastern area, is King Khan's or Catherine's?
Oh, indeed.
Or who might be in control of that zone?
I think that we have on the east side and the Lakeview side is sort of more Catherine, and the west side is more King Khan,
Okay.
so to speak. I mean, those borders are kind of shifting and changing, and there's other gangs, throughout. But generally speaking,
I would give you a word of caution. There is a possibility that this was generated by your own intuition and its contact with the outside world. But especially since both of us experienced it, it is more likely that we have managed to find that AM frequency that something else is transmitting on. Do not think that this wisdom is entirely from you or is your destiny. It may simply be that you are picking up a distress signal or a shaped and targeted message from something that may not be friendly to us.
I gotcha. I saw something like this on the Odd Coven.
Okay.
Maybe after your time.
Maybe before it. Yes. Before my time back. It's confusing. But I do think that if nothing else, it was a well-targeted message because you need to do something. If you have an opportunity, you cannot leave it on the table. Am I right?
Yeah. I think the important thing here is that people need to know what's going on within the zone. And for all we know, no one's gotten that information out yet. I've compiled hours and hours of documentary information about who's in charge, what they're doing to the people. We have to let everybody know outside what's happening in here so they can help.
Even if it's dangerous. Perhaps especially. I do
Everything
think
in here is going to be dangerous.
I do think that you need to be prepared. You need to be prepared because I do not think that you are fully aware of the depth of human apathy. Awareness of suffering is not sufficient to provoke activity. Pain is proximate. Far away pain is dimly felt. You just need
You got to
be
believe,
ready.
Sharper. You'll see. If we get the information out, you'll see.
I will indeed. All right. I think the first thing to do is to get Ace and do some scouting remotely. That's the safest way to check out the territory. Perhaps I can invite him to join with some extra sea rations that I found. He's so skinny.
If we do want to head into that into that area, I've probably met some people in the Haven that could possibly guide us as well. I think I've built up a little goodwill over the last few weeks. I think that would be a big help.
I think that we should use both of those techniques, see if we can combine them so when the time comes to strike, it's not exploratory surgery.
I think we can make that happen. This is going to work, Sharper.
Yes. Good luck.
So, Ace, let me share this information with you. How forthcoming are you with the request that Director Proudfeather has asked of you?
I would say not very. This is like that's pretty sensitive information that the director is going to bolt. And like, yeah, and like if I have any opportunity of getting out of the CZ, I'm sure there are any number of people who would be trying to bust down my door getting on that ride out. So yeah, no, I'm not spreading the word about that.
If you do manage to get them out, that would be another way for them to spread this information.
Oh yeah.
But a
No, I
mini-sub
mean,
might be tight
I
quarters.
totally intend to bring my crewmates with me, but uh, yeah, like I probably just you know, say to the others like, look, broadcasting is one way to get information out, but may be difficult. Smuggling, that's another, and one that I'm much more familiar with. Maybe we should look into that angle.
I mean, Cloud Kills. He got you here from Seattle. You know, what do you think?
I just don't know if I can lead these people. I think they need a voice. They need an advocate.
Well, I think that you might be surprised at the resourcefulness of people. If you get that information on the outside, I'm pretty sure they can take up the slack on the inside. First thing to getting people out of here, getting information out of here, is to break down that wall, right?
Yeah, I think so. I
So
think we need to play it by
maybe
ear,
we need
though.
to do some kind of pincer attack on it, right? Get some pressure from the outside, pressure from the inside.
Yeah, that scans, but we'll see. We'll see. Let me think about it. Let me
All
think
right.
about it.
Do you have
Look,
any? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, I used to run with the LASA, right? And our whole thing was trying to bring down the princes. And that's usually how we operated things, right? We had people out there in Seattle and we had people in the tier, and we worked together. It's at least a strategy I'm familiar with.
Sharper, do you have any last minute thoughts outside of puns that you would have before we take a quick break?
You know, Sharper figures that the vision is not about his spirituality, but the vision is about something moving in the spirit plane. And since that's where the threat's coming from, then he's happy to respond.
Mm.
So basically, it's just a matter of he almost has a wistfulness. He almost thinks that one more blow is what it would take to go back to village life. And he's ambiguous about that.
Okay. Very interesting. Let's take a quick 5 or 10 minute break. Get back between 7:15 and 7:20, and we will make some plans.
There was one other thing I wanted to sort of clear up. I'm guessing my land-based drone was probably lost in the last operation because probably got blown sky high when everybody was trying to run away. Like I don't know if it was fast enough to get out of there. Is kind of my question here.
Cloud Kills did definitely not make an effort to save it.
Yeah, I don't think that one made it, but I think that you have enough resources to get another one, so to speak. Since that's part of your abilities, I don't really like to take that from you.
Okay, cool.
So you don't have to pay new yen for it, but maybe you managed to cobble something together with your repair skills or something like that. So you have another serviceable land drone. Doesn't have that nice minigun turret on it anymore.
Oh.
Them's the breaks.
Yeah. And yeah, and I was just wanted to get a little bit of clarification on the sort of contents of the vision. I'm sorry, I was kind of spacing, like thinking about ways to smuggle things out of the city at that time.
I'll go ahead and put it in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
basically, they had a vision of a communications tower with a dark buzzing at the top of it, somewhere in the northeast.
Okay, right. Yeah, okay. Cool.
So do we have like local generators, partial power, local computers? I mean, we have like the basic computer usage that we're accustomed to, just no matrix, or are we like Stone Age computers?
I think you have some computers here. You have some generators and things like that. It's not necessarily any corporate data lab level of processing power, but yeah, you have serviceable stuff. I think you have like walkie-talkies.
If we had like a big screen somewhere, we could have like Tuesday media night. And Cloud Kills could like pick one of her favorite shows, and I would commit to go to catch up on 9 years of that.
I think that'd be kind of cool. I think that'd be a nice in-character touch.
So it's like we'll make popcorn, we'll go and we'll like binge 4 episodes a night, you know. And so up on like one thing anyway. So it's like you'll get all my supernatural references, or you'll get all my charmed references, you know.
Yeah. So her favorite shows are The Odd Coven is one of them, which is just like The Odd Couple, except one of the people is a mage. And what was the other one? It's Crimson something. There's a bunch of shows in this supplement called Shadow Beat.
It was a Triad. It was Crimson Triad.
Yeah, so that one's about the Red Samurai, the Nunraku Red Samurai. But of course, it portrays them in like a really positive light when they're actually kind of terrible. But that's like all she really knows about kind of the samurai Bushido culture.
Yeah, so if I get to pick, we're gonna watch The Odd Coven because you know it's like trying to watch military movies with veterans.
Right, yeah.
All they do is just groan and facepalm through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I'd sit in on this when I could and kind of just sort of shrug at this weird human entertainment stuff. But hey, you know, whatever floats your boat. It's a distraction from the stress of the situation.
I picture it being like a soap opera with supernatural trappings. So like you watch a little bit of it and this like, oh, so this guy's got that guy's girlfriend, and why does she keep going back to him? Doesn't she know he's no good for her? And you can like skip a season but come right back in where you were.
Yeah.
So yeah, Sharper will get totally into it. Those are my stories.
Yeah, I can see Cloud Kills totally like sitting there, you know, I don't even know what they call it now. Crisscross applesauce is what they call it in school. We used to call it Indian style. I don't know which one's politically correct, but I can see her like sitting there like that, like leaning forward and just totally into this show, eating, you know, terrible food.
She's probably also like the person who's already seen it all. So they're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh, wait till happens in season 7. It's like, shut up, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
like the Game of Thrones people who read the books, so they're all smug. It's like, all right, just come on. Let me do it at my own speed.
Nice.
Wait a minute. So the cat is not the first familiar she's had?
No. We're going to have to go back through season 1 again.
Yeah, so,
in season 1, Later Gator, season 1, episode 9, Later Gator, she has an alligator for like 5 minutes before the alligator gets exploded. It's an awesome episode, really well directed. I've read the cut. We got to go back now.
Okay, I tell you what, we can get the director cut editions after we get through it the first time. I'm not going to live forever.
All right.
Yeah, and I think maybe during some of this media viewing session, I'm gonna slip out. I'm gonna go talk to that Go gang because hey, at least they're out on the streets. They might know something.
So I've sort of cobbled together a very rough map of the containment zone. If you look at sheet number 3, I'll probably rename it to map. I have the key here. The light green, this is Khan's territory.
Is there a link?
In the character sheet.
Oh, in the character sheet. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, okay. Great. Got it.
We'll call this Kathy's territory. And then...
Are we red?
Yes. We'll call you Haven is red, and as we sort of plot different cells that we go to, we might change those colors. Is this vague enough for us to use? I hope so.
What does the blue represent?
That's the water. Very apt. And the dark border is the wall. So the wall isn't actually around the lake shore because they figure who's going to go out in the lake? Go for a swim. The sort of like light red area represents that there's a sort of a safe-ish area around Haven that's patrolled. Moderately safe.
Who patrols it?
The security forces of Director Proudfeather. These probably are ex-cops and corporate security guards, people like that, people with military training who've sort of volunteered to help keep the Haven safe.
So I guess I'd be heading out towards maybe like Catherine's territory to try to locate this Go gang because I assume that our other friend here, the Khan, would be interested in killing them because they're elves. So also that's it's you know, her territory's up borders the lake, so that's kind of what I'm interested in any case.
Right. So I'll put a little purple cell here. That can be the sort of location where the mantids, as they're called, are known to ride.
Okay.
I'm going to roll the die of fate to kind of see what their reaction will be to you.
Yeah, and if possible, I've tried to appropriate some kind of bike. I don't think I'm rocking a van this time because it's just too conspicuous.
Little solo mission, right?
Yeah.
Well, you got a 1 on that IFA, bud.
Oh shit! These rolls
I mean,
killing me.
I kind of want to re-roll because I've seen 3 ones in a row, and I'm curious if we're having a glitch. Nope, we're not having a glitch. It's just 3 ones in a row. So we'll have a little scene here. You
Actually, can I intersperse one thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, because he always sits in on media night, right? Like when we're having the Odd Coven night, like Ace is always there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to like see how he gets out without telling us that he's going to go and do research on his own.
I mean, I think I'm kind of in and out normally anyway, because like I'm not as into it as the other two of you, but like, you know, it's just something to take my mind off of things, and I think I probably like head out and just say, oh, I'm gonna go work on the van, you know.
But you're gonna miss Sister Act. This is like a key moment in Charles's character development. You can't leave right now. Season 3, episode 13, man.
Look, you gotta give me the rundown. You gotta give me the recap when I get back, because I'll be frank with you. It just, you know, it's a different culture. Like, I grew up in the UCAS as well, but I ran with my people, and we have a different idea of what culture is. So you gotta ease me into it, you know.
Are you seriously playing the elf card, Sharper? Is he playing the elf card right now?
I'm just like,
because it sounds like he's playing the elf card, and she like throws.
Yeah, that's the elf card.
She like throws some popcorn at you as you walk away.
Do you intend to follow Ace Cloud Kills, or are you getting back into?
No, she's not suspicious enough of him to.
It's a wonderful show that I actually want to see.
It's a pivotal episode. Where are you going? Come on, come back.
Okay. So, I'm trying to think of what would be a cool sort of headquarters for this gang. I think one thing you notice about it, for sure, is that it's very pristine. You know, in spite of the surroundings, you know, there's no street sweepers out here right now. You know, there's nobody worrying about litter, and yet there's this one bar that sort of sticks out as being very clean, swept. We're talking Windex being sprayed up on the glass, you know. I'd like to hear like what everyone else thinks. Something you see about this bar that lets you know that the Mantids are not people to be fucked with. What do you think, Sharper?
I'd say probably there's a row of they moved a wrought iron fence up to the ceiling, up to the roof, and the wrought iron fence has heads on it.
Yeah. Cloud Kills, as a fellow female, what do you see about this bar that screams girl power?
If I don't know. I mean, the first thing that came to my mind is that some of the things that were impaled on that fence were not going to be heads, but that might be too graphic of content. Are people cool with that, or is that too graphic?
I think we might go a different angle for my
All
own.
right, that's fair. That's fair. What would scream girl power? I'm just fixated on that idea now.
How about all the servers and bartenders and everything are men in skimpy outfits?
Yeah.
I
That
kind of,
works.
yeah, I like that. I like
Like a
that.
Chippendales sort of
Good.
situation.
It's good. Yeah.
Yeah, and so all you've got going for you is a ponytail here, Ace. So you're going to go into some slightly hostile territory.
Uh-huh.
Come to this bar. Got your bike. I think the name of the bar has been like the sign has been like removed, and they've just spray painted Mantids is now the name of the bar, so to speak. But in a very it's like stenciled, because again,
Mhm.
this pristine nature. But yeah, as you go in, you see there's a lot of men. They look kind of a little like servile or scared, I guess would be the easiest way to say it. They look intimidated. I think maybe a couple of them are kind of getting, roughed around a little bit by some of these biker chicks, right? They wear leathers with like this like sort of like praying mantis on the back is sort of emblazoned on there. And if you get a close look, you see a lot of them have green eyes. So maybe they all have matching cyber eyes or contacts or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
I'd say there's about 7 or 8 kind of gang members here in the bar, along with about 4 servers. There's a well stocked bar. Behind the bar, there's a woman leaning. She's got a jacket on, but her face is turned away from you. What do you do?
So I think I guess I'm probably wearing some biker clothes as well, just because I've been out on my bike. So probably just like straighten out my jacket a bit, walk into there. And
Whole bar goes quiet when you come in.
yeah, I just like look around,
Getting
walk over to
lots
the
of
bar,
stares.
and I say to the bartender, this is one of the gang members, the bartender.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I say to her in Sparethiel, I say, so is it, I guess it's evening, right? Because it's the movie night. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so
They must have a generator because they got some green neon lights in here.
yeah, so I say, well met, sister.
So you see, she's behind. She's kind of like cleaning a glass or something like that. You can see her elven ears kind of poking behind her hair, some ear piercings and stuff like that. She turns around, and it's Anna.
Oh shit! I'm like, yeah, and so I think my eyes just like go wide, and I say, "You're alive."
And I think she's just like, well, I'm breathing and moving, aren't I? Should I be surprised?
I thought you were caught up with the Universal Brotherhood.
Hmm. So am I familiar to you then?
Well, we're family.
A lot of that's a blur. Yes, I remember the Universal Brotherhood. They tried to recruit this vessel, but no, they're weak. This vessel was destined for greater purposes.
Oh, and
Not that you'd understand, brother. She's sort of like she's speaking in Sprethiel too, but like she kind of spits out the word for brother a little bit,
yeah, and I think I say, and what purpose is that?
You said we're family. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
I have a new family now. Mantids! And she like holds up a drink, and they all kind of cheer and like raise their glasses and take a swig, and then they kind of start talking and buzzing, but between themselves again. So
Yeah,
things are
take a
pretty
look
hostile.
around. Like, okay, I see how it is.
We're trying to, you know, find some order in this chaos right now. I'm sure you understand.
Of course.
Pretty crazy out there. We might not have the same reputation that King Khan has, but I'm assuming you've heard about us and you know our reputation, don't you?
Oh yeah, I've I've heard of you for sure. That's why I came.
Oh, you wanted to have your head chopped off?
Well, like you said, it's tough times. Gotta find the order you can, right?
Hmm. We could always find room for another cog. But tell me, you must be here because you want something. You men always want something.
I shrug and I say, yeah, well, I'm looking for information.
This vessel has information. This vessel has spent many nights out in these streets and has learned a lot about the lay of the land.
How much time you spent down by the lake?
Fair bit.
You get to see anything about the marinas and docks kind of thing?
Sure. Lots of upended boats and dry docks that have been left to rot.
Uh,
You have the look of a man who's trying to escape. Cornered. Like someone turning the lights on in a room full of roaches. They all scatter.
and I just say, simply business.
Sure. Well, we have no interest in leaving. We're perfectly happy where we are. But we've looked at the docks. What are you looking for in the docks?
Well, and I say, sure you understand that traveling out of the city by land or by air would be suicide, even for someone as accomplished as yourselves. Like, probably like gesture outside to their bikes. Uh, and
We've seen the sentries posted on the wall. We know what kind of firepower they have.
yeah. And I was thinking something a little bit more discreet and put it straight, I'm looking for a mini sub.
Sub. Perhaps I know something. What are you willing to offer in return for my knowledge, this vessel's knowledge?
Well, I suppose you don't remember, but had a bit of a reputation as a smuggler of some skill. That's how I got the name Ace.
Oh,
So
yes.
you
That
need
does
something
sound
moved quick and quiet. I might be able to help you out.
familiar. Something moved.
I've got some friends who can provide some muscle. If that's called for too.
Yes, I think we could use some of that. But, sure. When the time comes, we'll let you know.
All right.
In the meantime, let me put something together for you. A little treasure map, so to speak, for your underwater coffin. So I think she
They
could
just
provide
say,
you.
we'll see. We'll see about that.
Yes. I think she offers you like a little map with a location of a potential mini sub that she has seen.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and just say it's right here. I'll give it a dark blue cell.
Okay. Got it.
So if you go to that section of the docks, might be able to find that. Have to go through Catherine the Terrible's territory, but
so yeah, I think I'd probably just get on my bike, head back, and I'm sure that the others, Sharper and Cloud Kills, are probably into their like 4th episode by the time I get back, something like that.
About that,
what's the cliffhanger here?
There's been a complication.
Mm.
Something that you may know about Sharper is he tries to hit all the flags like clockwork. So as soon as he knew that you were going to be working on your equipment, then he made a mental note to go after the end of the first episode and interrupt you while you were working on your van. Only you weren't there. Well, that's curious. So he went ahead and set up his little tablet so he could watch the episode remotely, put his feet up, and waited.
Yeah, so I probably come back then to, I don't know where it is, like probably like the parking garage for the stadium, more or less. I guess that's where the vehicles would be stored.
Well, the thing is, I mean, I assume you're not checking in and out, so you're having to use some gap in security to do this, right? I imagine that would be Ace's instinct as a smuggler.
I think maybe I got some kind of permission from the director, right? Like,
okay,
because I'm on official business.
Well, in that case, I'm definitely going to check with the gate to see if you said where you were going.
Okay.
Does the gate tell me anything?
Director Proudfeather has asked Ace to do some reconnaissance.
Oh. At night?
Might be safer that way. What do you think?
I struggle to imagine how if you're on a motorcycle.
Oh, well.
If you're on foot, sure. But if you're going, 30 miles an hour on broken highway with snipers out there and you got a headlight, then maybe that's safer, but I sure don't see it. No, that's cool, though. I mean, I'm not a critic of your tactics. That's between you all. That's just thank you very much. I appreciate your cooperation.
I think you might have managed, like, throughout this time to develop a bit of a rapport with these gate guards.
Sure. I mean, I have no... I mean, they do what they do. That's cool.
Look, Sharper, Director Proudfeather's given Ace some high-level clearance, okay? So I might be willing to tell you, but I really don't know.
Oh, yeah. You know what? You've already told me too much, so we'll pretend this conversation didn't happen.
I'm sorry. I'll be more tight-lipped next time.
I'll go ahead and punch him on his anthead armor and head back inside.
He'll do like a bow because he thinks that's the appropriate thing to do.
Keep up the good work.
Yes, Sensei.
Safety third.
Very good. So then the two of you have this sort of confrontation. Cloud Kills. Now that your showing is over, where did you head? Are you following Sharper? Did you have something else you were wanting to do?
I mean, Sharper has to go to the bathroom all the time, but he usually comes right back.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Cloud Kills is kind of, 20 feet away when that altercation is happening with the gate guard. So she hears that as well, because she came out in search of him, mostly to drag him back to watch another episode.
Actually, I think we're full up on drama tonight.
Yeah,
Did you
it's
know-
looking that way.
Did you know that Ace has high-level clearance from the Proudfeather herself to go out and do secret nighttime reconnaissance?
No, Ace seems to have forgotten to mention that.
I mean, I admire keeping secrets when it's appropriate. That's just kind of curious, don't you think?
Yeah, so what do you want to do about it?
Just have a simple conversation. So yeah, go in and
cut to said conversation.
Yeah, I think this is. I probably am coming back in, and I just say, "Oh, I thought you guys would be into your 4th episode by now."
Well, that's
Something
the
going
trouble.
on?
That's the trouble when everything is unpredictable. Then sometimes we don't have what we expect.
And Cloud Kills throws some more popcorn at him and says, "Elven stuff my hoop."
Language.
Where have you been? Where you been, Ace?
All right, I'll be honest. I've been on business. I've been looking into leads, and I think I got something that might help us.
Help us what?
Help us and check the door to make sure it's closed, make sure no one's listening in, help us get out of here.
And you didn't think you should tell us about this beforehand?
Well, I didn't know what I had. Now I know. At least I got a lead. I didn't have anything when I left. I wanted to go quiet out there,
I'm surprised you went in person instead of sending a drone.
Drones they have their uses, but they're not so good at negotiating.
So what'd you find out, Ace? What's the scan?
I got a lead. I got a lead on possible location of a mini sub. Go out quiet, underwater, through the lake. I'd be able to get out of here.
That's like what? 1, 2 people?
Well, we'll have to see. Some of them seat closer to 15.
So the idea is to escape.
Yeah. And maybe there's a job involved.
What do you mean, maybe?
Who's the client?
And sizes you both up, gives you a really sort of piercing look, and it'll just be look, I'm gonna let you in on this, but this is very hush hush. The director has hired me to get her out. There's another person we need to get out of here too. But I think that says a lot to me. Proudfeather wants out of here means
What
things
does
are
it
pretty
say?
bad.
It says to me that Proudfeather's abandoning her people when they need her.
It says to me that something's going down that we don't know about.
I could have told you that.
Yeah, I
The
bet.
Illuminati.
Do you even think the water out there is safe? I mean, this area is crawling with bugs. Who's to say that the water's not too? Maybe that's why there's not a wall out there. I don't know if I want to get into a floating tin can and get peeled by an insect.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll go do some investigating if we get our hands on this sub before you get in the tin can.
Are you going to involve us in these investigations this time, Ace?
Well, if you're up for it, now I've let you in on the job. Have to understand, this kind of thing could start a riot.
Absolutely.
Very dangerous information.
Yes. I'm going to sleep on it. Sharper leaves.
Cloud Kills kind of snorts at Ace a little, and then she turns around. I'm going to go watch another episode. You're not invited.
That's what I get for sharing there.
Harsh. So, we know where Sharper's sleeping quarters are because they're, highlighted by some nice spray-painted katanas. I'm guessing somehow you managed to acquire like a tatami mat that you get to sleep on.
And also a hammock for when he can't handle the concrete.
For sure. Where are everyone else's sleeping arrangements? Do you fall asleep on the couch with 3,200 more people watching the projector, or where do you go, Cloud Kills?
So I think
There's like a huge bank of like cots, right? Just like almost as far as the eye can see, and everyone kind of has their cot and their meager belongings sort of there, right?
Yeah. So Sharper's off like in his own little room essentially, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe it's even like a box that you'd have, like a viewing box or something like that. In the bleachers.
It's somewhere in the sub basement. Like,
oh, that's right. You're in the basement. Yeah.
And I've got a suite. I've got like a little area. Unless somebody tells me that I can't have that suite, and then I will explain to them why I need it.
Well, I think there's people. Not everybody likes to sleep in the common area with a bunch of cots. There are people up in the bleachers. There are people who also hang out in the, boiler room type areas, but probably have known to give you your space.
Now,
So
if Cloud Kills wanted to sleep in my basement suite, that would be allowed.
Yeah. So I think they've got a viewing room that she has basically set up outside of his sleeping area, and I think she does just crash on the couch, like this old natty scavenge couch, where they also sit and watch Trid.
Cool. And how about Ace? Now that you're kind of in the doghouse, where is your doghouse? What does it look like?
Yeah, I imagine I'm probably
he lives in a van down by the river.
Yeah, like I think I'm probably sleeping in the van. Yeah, that's got to be it.
So there's like it could also be in the basement, like a small parking garage, and you have one of the spots. So cool. So while Ace is likely haunted by strange dreams of his family members who don't acting oddly, I think that Sharper and Cloud Kills have another sort of shared dream, right? It's just back to this same mountain with this tower on top of it, and this communication tower, and this dark buzzing, and you can like feel the buzzing like in your teeth and in your skull. It's pretty bad. Is this something that just wakes you up? Is this something you try to hold on to and search for deeper truth? What happens here?
Well, what's the draw? Because there's something that pulls me in closer to the tower. So is it something that's under the buzz, or is it the buzz itself? I mean, just try to ride it as deep as it goes, see if there's something under the buzz.
Why don't you roll with wisdom for me, or willpower, that is. How about you, Cloud Kills? What are you doing
7.
here?
So I think in the if you think it's appropriate, I think in the vision, she's like trying to slap at her pockets and find the it's actually a disc that fits into her camcorder. So she's like looking all over her body for this disc so that she can like plug it in, and she can't find it anywhere. And she just keeps searching for it, and she knows she has to get the message out, and she can't find where that message is.
Okay. Interesting. So is this searching that you're doing a way to try to engage further with the nightmare, or are you just gonna wake up in a cold sweat without any other repercussions?
Yeah, I think she'll like wake up in a cold sweat with this just like feeling that what she needed to do was elusive and didn't happen.
Okay. Well, do you have no repercussions from that? Sharper, you rolled a 7. So question for you. What did you all do with Janet, the insect shaman?
My recommendation and plan was to drop her off with the fixer. Because basically he put us onto the job, and to say, hey, this is what we found. You wanted us to, because they stiffed you and put you in a difficult position, you wanted us to bloody their... And here's a survivor who has insight, and you can flip that for huge money to a corp or the law or however you want to handle it. But it's too hot for us. That's what I wanted to do. I don't know if that's what the group did, but that would be my preference.
We can say that for now. That she's with Johnny, and we're not sure what Johnny did with her. Yeah.
Because basically, I mean, Sharper doesn't care.
Okay.
He basically wants to make her somebody else's problem.
So you weren't likely to have taken any like trophy from her or anything like that?
No. We're civilized. Okay. Or Sharper is civilized.
You're trying to... This buzzing is filling through your brain, and you're trying to like almost filter it out, right? To find the silence beneath, to find the truth. And the buzz sort of turns into a static. Okay. And it's more of this like communication tower. And it's a signal now being spread out. But the message that they're sending, as it gets louder and louder, it's the same noise that you heard in that tunnel. It's just the sound of insectoid legs running closer and closer to you.
Yeah, I feel that Sharper could have gotten out of containment by now if he was determined to do so. But he's lived long enough to know that sometimes quarantine is not a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
So that has dampened his eagerness to escape. It is possible that it is best to contain something in here, and we don't even know how much it's in us because we've had a high level of contact. So, I mean, for him to be like, well, you know, there might be an ongoing signal that turns us into a beachhead for a further invasion. That's possible. It's possible, since these are spirits and not creatures, they can be transmitted through living spirits. Yeah, so, I mean, we'll just file that away as another piece.
Yeah, I think that the sort of information, just to put a fine point on it, that you glean from that is that the insect spirits are sending out a signal of some kind. You don't necessarily know the nature of it, though.
Tasty lunch here.
Okay, it's the morning. People got plans. What are we doing here?
Just would like to know a little bit more about this person I was supposed to find to get out of here.
All that Director Proudfeather shared with you is that it's the daughter of a CEO. You don't know which company, but you haven't necessarily seen anyone fitting. You know, there's kids here and young adults. But
So
she didn't allude to which one of them it was. But you have a feeling that she'd be keeping a close eye on her, though.
right. Okay. So okay. Um. Well, during the day, um. So one thing is with this tower, like I don't think I've heard a word of this tower from the others, but I was just kind of thinking about where it might be on the map. You said it was in the northwest
Northeast.
or northeast, so it may also be in Kathy's territory, right?
Good chance. Yep.
Okay. All right. So I think what I'm doing is during the day is probably like going and asking around about if anyone knows about getting in and out of Kathy's territory, what to watch out for, the hot spots, that kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah.
Because like I don't think I'm gonna risk going through there in broad daylight. Seems a little bit crazy, but I definitely want to get prepared for trying to make a night run through there to see what I can see.
So I think that Cloud Kills would have that information already. She's been speaking with a lot of the locals and sort of gathering information on forces in the CZ and the head honchos, so to speak. You could go to her and ask, or
Okay.
you could try your luck with the refugees.
Yeah, sure. I'll go have a little chat with Cloud Kills. Um, and I don't know where you'd be this time of day.
Is it
What's Cloud Kills up to?
is it like early in the morning still, or are we like in the day now?
I think it would be, maybe like 10, 11 a.m., something like that.
Okay, yeah, I think by this time Cloud Kills is like in the middle of kind of the stands, and she's conducting a video interview with um, uh, this sunken-eyed white woman with like these massive bright red dreadlocks going all the way down her back.
There were hundreds of them, man. Just they all came out of the old subway, the old subway station. They climbed up out of the stairs like a horde. It was horrifying. My cousin, he didn't make it. He didn't make it.
And Cloud Kills kind of reaches out and touches the woman's shoulder and says, I'm so sorry for your loss. You were completely defenseless, you say. There were none of the city officials, none of the police forces, Lone Star wasn't on hand to help."
It's like they'd all left. I couldn't find a blue for ages. There's nobody out there. But I heard sirens everywhere, so I don't know. Maybe they were all busy.
Cloud Kills pulls out this extremely chemical infused soy candy bar and hands it to her and says, this is all I have, but I know it's not much, but thank you for your time. I'll be back tomorrow."
She kind of takes away shaking hands, and she's like, "Oh, thanks. It's I thought it was going to be every man, woman, and child for themselves out here, but looks like there are still good people." So the NERPS bar is probably going to be helpful for her shock right now. So, but yeah.
Okay. So I think, yeah, Cloud Kills is kind of turning away from her and checking the settings on her camera as Ace walks up.
Yeah, and I say it's like you're helping out another desperate soul.
She looks up kind of out of the corner of her eye and says, "Yeah, that's kind of what I do."
So I guess in all that, you've been talking to a lot of people, heard a lot of stories.
What do you want, Ace?
I was wondering what you know about Kathy's territory, getting in and out, places to watch out for, that kind of thing.
Not a lot. I know quite a few people who have come from that zone. I haven't asked a lot of questions about Catherine herself or her power structure. Probably nothing that you'd be too interested in. But yeah, I know a lot of people who came from there. Why?
Well, that business I was mentioning yesterday got to go through Catherine's territory if we want to get it done. Need to check things out, and I don't want to end up slave of some crazy go gang.
She looks you up and down and says, "Fair enough. Come with me. I know a guy." And she just turns and like walks off down the bleachers, and like jumps over the edge down onto the field, and in kind of one of the what are they called, the the bullpens, I guess, where the players actually sit. There's this guy who's wearing like a stuffer shack uniform, a soiled stuffer shack uniform. Dugouts, thanks. Sorry, it's late. Like a soiled stuffer shack uniform, but you can see that he wears it like a military uniform almost. And on the name tag it says Eddie, district manager.
I rolled a die of fate, and you got a 6. So this guy's gonna have a lot of information to handle with you, and you have a good rapport. So, hey, Cloud Kills, good to see ya.
Boy, Eddie. Hey, I know you used to manage a chain of stuffer shacks over there on the East Coast, out by the lakeside. I got a friend here who's got some questions for you about how he might go about getting out to those areas. Would you mind helping him out?
East side. That's gonna be you got the blue boys, you got the fire tusks, but what you gotta watch out for is definitely Kathy.
So someone who's trying to get out there, what's the best way to go?
Well, you could try to sneak around and navigate your way through a bunch of sleeping bugs and Kathy's army. Or you can always try the diplomatic route, talk to her directly.
I'm more the sneaking type.
I'm not one to ask. I've always been a people person myself. That's how I got the job. But I knew Kathy back in the day.
Yeah?
She was one of my number pushers, counted type people, real mousy type of lady, quiet, kept to herself. But I don't know. I couldn't believe it. After all this happened, she came out like a crazy tyrant, and turned out she'd been storing all these guns for years in her apartment. It's wild. Now she's running the East Side like she's the Queen of Chicago.
Wow. That is a story.
Yeah, well, if I hadn't seen her with my own 2 eyes, probably wouldn't have believed it myself. But I went to her. I'll be honest with you. Originally, I was looking for a job, but I was looking for something more stable. That's how I ended up here. But I'll tell you something about Kathy. If you double think. If you're second guessing that sneaking routine, she is very easy to flatter. She loves flattery.
Yeah?
You go in there with a dozen synth roses and a sweet smile. She's known to be a little generous, unlike the king. Oof.
Yeah, I'm gonna steer clear of him.
So Eddie, I mean, could you make an introduction for us? I didn't realize you knew her.
Yeah, ooh, I'd love to help you, boss, but I don't know if I want to see her again. She's got a crazy look in her eyes.
All right. Well, thanks.
There was this one time where I might have looked over a promotion for her. Don't know if she's too happy about that.
Enough said. We got it. Thanks, Eddie. I appreciate it.
Okay. You got it. Go Bears.
And if you need something moved, transported, hey, you used to be a manager. I'm sure you got something on the go. You let me know. I'll be there to help.
Next time I got a shipment of soy calf, I'll let you know. Yeah, we'll see if we ever see another open stuff a shack in this town. This town is stuffed, if you ask me. So, if you want to push him, I think you could maybe go with the charisma roll if you wanted to try to, work out a deal or something like that, or call in a favor. But
if he pissed Kathy off the last time he saw her, I don't really think we want him to come with us.
Yeah, no, I think maybe think about it in the future. Maybe do something with Eddie, but at the moment, I think we're probably better off without him.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I will highlight a cell where the last known location of Kathy's war camp, so to speak, was located. Oh, that's really hard to see. You can't do yellow on yellow. That orange spot there, if you wanted to go there or if you wanted to avoid there, that's where it's at.
All right. So I think I just so I think I say to Cloud Kills, how do you feel about this? What way do you want to go? You want to go talk to Catherine? Is there a scoop you want there? Or would you rather take the nice and quiet route?
I think we've got to go talk to her. The more information I can get out of this place, the better.
All right. Well,
and out of character real quick. So we haven't told you, no one's told you yet about these visions.
No.
Is that right? Okay.
So yeah, this is for me, I'm still just focused on the job. That's all I got on my mind.
Okay. I don't think Sharper and I, forgive me if I'm wrong here, Andrew, but I don't think Sharper and Cloud Kills ever talked about did they talk about this together?
When we were talking earlier, he told her to not that it's coming from inside, but that it's possible that
that's right.
Receptors that are dialing into some exterior force that may not be benign. So
yeah, you're right. So they've talked
not
about
to trust it.
Yeah. So they've talked about it, but Ace doesn't know about it yet. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sharper doesn't know exactly what he thinks of it, except that he feels it is more likely a trap than anything else. So he's reluctant to, beyond those that it's already touched.
Yeah. Okay.
Cloud Kills can do what she wants. He didn't swear her to secrecy or anything.
Cloud Kills is just kind of pissed off at Ace anyway at the moment, so she's not all that forthcoming.
So okay, fine. So I think my kind of a plan here is to take the van up to Catherine's location if we're both heading up there. And I'm gonna prepare some kind of white flag that I can use to signal that we come in peace. So they don't just kill us immediately when we roll up there.
Sharper, you see them working on this in the garage. What does their white flag look like?
It's a bed sheet.
Just a straight up cot sheet that they've kind of.
I can't think of anything bigger and whiter.
Yeah.
Of course,
What a great way to draw attention to yourself.
Maybe with the sports that happen here, there's like some sports ball banner that has white colors in it that could be repurposed. I'm not familiar with sports ball. I don't know what the team colors are in Chicago, but yeah, I would think the easiest thing to find would be a bed sheet. Either that or the side panel of a van. Just it's my neutral fin.
Yeah, and I mean I think I'd probably be like, I mean I'm a rigger, so I'd probably be, constructing something to make this work, like some kind of attachment to the side of the van that would hold a large size flag.
Very cool. You might be able to manipulate it a little bit, in case you got to go around a tight corner, or if you want to hide it before you hang it out.
Yeah, right. There's like a crank on the inside, just like pull it down.
Yeah, exactly. So what do you think about all this, Sharper? Are you curious?
Must be preparing to go into enemy territory.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. We got a lead on how to sweet talk this Catherine.
Yeah, you got a lead from a civilian?
Yep. Used to be your boss.
I mean, you can do what you want. But in the past, when I want to make introductions to someone who is powerful and irritable, I like to capture one of their people, have a little friendly question and answer, and see if I can arrange for my captive to make an introduction for me. That way you get more up-to-the-date intelligence.
Well, here's the thing about that plan. Not saying it's a bad idea. Obviously, we used to do some of the same kind of tactics back in the day in the Lysa. We had our enemies.
Well, it depends also
The thing about Catherine, though, is that she's unpredictable and irritable. And the person we just talked to said she had some kind of grudge against him. So I'm just worried if we bring someone in from her gang, maybe somebody who isn't really on her good side.
Sure. No, I like your plan. Go up and say, hello, I'd like to be friends, and see what happens. It's solid.
Well,
one to criticize. I wouldn't hang my life on it, but I mean, you can. That's cool. Wait, you're taking cloud kills? Hang on. We got to talk about your plan.
So, let's talk about something a little bit more serious then. I was just at stage 1 of the plan, just to rig up the van.
Right. And, I'm not even... I just think it might be valuable to talk to someone in your organization before we just
that much. I can get on board with that. Definitely, I can get on board with that. I'm just not sure we want them making an introduction for us.
Sure.
All right.
I mean, it depends on how the conversation goes. But they're going to have scouts. They're going to have deep pickets,
Yeah.
In fact, we may not even have to have any show of force at all. Might just be able to stroll up to a campfire and make it all friendly-like. My point is, I would rather have an introduction.
Fair. So
why do you want to talk to this person anyway? Just to travel across her territory?
yeah, safe passage. That's what I'm looking for.
Do we feel that you realize safe passage also means she'll be looking over your shoulder?
Yeah.
Anything that you find is going to be observed then.
Oh,
But if it's already
I'm
in her
aware.
territory, it belongs to her.
It's just well, I was talking to Cloud Kills, and Cloud Kills, she wasn't so hot on the idea of covert infiltration.
Sure.
It's more my specialty, but I figure we got this lead. Maybe we'll try the social route.
Well, full of opinions, but not confident in them. I'm willing to provide support to the direction that you choose.
That's appreciated. And well, I think in either case, we might want to find one of her people first and see what we can see.
If nothing else, we will gain insight into the nature of their organization.
Exactly. And so I think what I'm going to try to do here is maybe get my hands on some parts. Is it like Catherine's army? Like, what kind of organization are we talking about here? Is it like actually like organized like a kind of land fighting force, or is it like a large sort of Mad Max style go gang thing, or like what's going on here?
The information you kind of have gathered from Cloud Kill's contacts is that hers is a little bit more organized. You know, she has like a cavalry regiment and all these different things, and you know, little squads and brigades and all these different things. It's probably not necessarily huge, but it's a little bit more organized. So you might encounter a squad of like 4 or 5 soldiers, so to speak.
Right. Okay.
Maybe the best way we could do this is for one of us to go into danger, so you would have to provide support with one of your drones.
Fair. And I was just thinking it'd be nice if we had something we could trade with whoever it is we run into, just in case we don't get the drop on them. Understand?
Yeah.
So I don't know. What would these infantry be after?
Do you still have your drone?
Yep, I do.
Your flying drone?
I do, of course.
You remember those topographical scans that you did last week? Put together a wireframe of, the territory?
Right.
That is invaluable intelligence.
Yeah, and it's not like they can get it off the Matrix anymore.
Yes.
Yeah,
and we already have it. And it's a handmade gift. That says you care.
You got some old toasters and whatnot cobbled together that could store this and present it for you.
Yeah, if we had any trouble with like server space early on, like in the first week or so, then I would definitely be hitting buildings and going shopping till we had, enough tech to make Sharper comfortable.
Right.
I mean, it's just laying around out there.
And it's like, it's like portable data storage is like this giant external hard drive thing or something. I don't know what the first ed Shadowrun thing looks like.
It's probably zip disks.
10 megabytes. This thing's packing. Yeah.
We'll never use that much space.
Yeah. 2055.
Right.
So painful.
Well, was it like Johnny Mnemonic? It's like 10 gigs is like the storage he's got in his head.
His childhood. So, yeah. But yeah, is that a problem to put together like that as a disc or something that we could give them that they would be able to use?
Sort of an offering, a little gift.
I mean, it wouldn't have like patrol information or anything like that. Nothing like sensitive security wise, but
so
lay of land.
Maps are invaluable to armies. If an army thinks that it's an all organized, a map's going to be nice.
So does this mean are you interested in giving her a map of her enemy's territory?
I don't think it was done like with that purpose in mind, but like I think it would basically cover like some of her territory and some of her enemy's territory as well. Like like so if we're looking at the map here, it's probably like the area north of the Haven, so like partially covering the Khan's territory and partially covering her territory.
Right. So what I would say is, if you give her this information, this map, right, of Khan's territory, that's going to be a decent bargaining chip. Along with, if you have a captive, I think that could be a +1, perhaps.
We're kind of looking to have an introduction. Whether they're a captive or a buddy is up to them.
Yeah.
If you scrub this data so that it doesn't include Haven maps and patrols, that'll get your foot in the door. If you include that sensitive information, that could give you functionally a +1 in these negotiations. So,
well, let's see how the whole the captive / friend thing works out, and then we'll make a decision as to how much we're going to hand over.
We can retroactively decide. So what
I'll say too that if Cloud Kills finds out like that you're giving information about the people in the patrols in the Haven, like that's not gonna. She's gonna retroactively.
This information is not people in patrols. It's only like topographical maps.
Yeah, that's the baseline we could give her. But if we do give her patrol information on top of that, then we're gonna sweeten the pot, is what.
And I never was talking patrol information.
Yeah.
And I think what Michael was talking about was if we include maps of Haven surroundings.
I think
as opposed to editing the maps to be further north.
Right. If you have this kind of bulk data, which is the topographical maps, patrols, things you've seen, right? You can scrub the Haven portion and keep them safe and keep their kind of security privacy there. But if you don't, you have it. And you have high-level clearance.
I don't feel like that's ours to give.
You might feel that way, but Mr. High-level clearance might not, and he's got his hands on the data. And he's got his hands on the so we can think about that
see what retroactively. Ace has up his sleeve.
Yeah, could be an ace.
Could be Snake Eyes.
I don't think they put those in your sleeves.
Speaking of which, I would like to see a quick intelligence roll. This is basically a combination of the surveillance work you've done in the past and the data you've managed to get into the computer. I want to see, basically, if you don't succeed in this or if you roll low, this means that you've got some attention from the sweeps that you've done in King Khan's territory. I have a little clock for him set up, so basically this is going to advance that clock. If
I got a 9.
Okay, so that's just one pie slice. Okay, so our plan is we have this information that we're going to offer as sort of a gift. We have our white flag. We're maybe going to look along the way to see if we can single out a patrol and get a captive. And then we're going to offer all of this to Catherine the Terrible on a big silver platter. and see if she can offer us safe passage to the sub. And all the while, in the background, you're feeling this tugging and longing for the tower. Is that right?
Yep, I think that's the plan.
So,
I thought that was just during meditation and just like isolated incidents. You're saying that's like a more background factor?
I think it's like something from the Force. It'd be like every once in a while, I'd be like, I feel disturbance of the Force. I feel a little twinge. Every once in a while, there's a breeze that comes through with a certain smell on it that reminds me of like toast or yeast, and it makes you kind of. So
Yeah,
that's.
I think Cloud Kills is much more interested really in getting to the tower than she is in the sub.
But
yeah,
knowing what you do of this map, and sniper. Gosh, slasher, cutter, sharper. Sharper's idea that it's in the Northeast. You know that it is in Catherine's territory. So getting a pass from her could maybe mean a safer means of getting to that. So you might not be at cross purposes here. But with all this in mind, we have half an hour. Well, we're 2.5 hours in. And I know that last week we ended up running a bit late, and I don't want that to happen again. So what we can do here is we can set up some roles to kind of get the ball going so that next week we can start in media res.
Yeah.
Or we can do a little bit more here. If anyone has any little scenes in mind, and then we can have some time for some feedback and some ideas for next session. What do you think?
Well, if maybe we could just get a sense of, how the meeting with Catherine is set up. That might be a helpful objective.
Like how our legwork kind of goes for going to talk to her.
Because, I mean, it may not take too long to, like, snag somebody and find out if that's going to work or if we're just going to end up having to shoot our way through anyway.
So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to roll the die of fate, and this is going to represent what you come across as you travel from Haven to Catherine's encampment. So a low result is going to be bad. Middle result is going to be some bad and some good. High result is going to be basically exactly what you want. Make sense? So let me roll that so we kind of have an idea. And I can maybe even kind of set that up, and we'll start off in that situation next week.
Sure.
Okay, you got a 5. So the way I'm interpreting that is that you are going to be able to encounter a patrol squad of Catherine's men. So this is 4 or 5 well-armed soldiers, I guess you might call them. But there's no, you essentially have the drop on these people.
Okay.
Yeah. And
so that's
you're going to have
that's where we're
whatever.
Start next time?
Yeah, we're going to start with you kind of, a safe distance away from this patrol squad, deciding how you want to go into that. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would love to get some feedback from you guys, especially because we didn't have time for that last session. Things got a little drawn out, a little hectic. I'm still working on fine-tuning that pacing. If anyone has any feedback, positive or negative, that they'd like to offer, ideas for next session, things that you like to see, that you want to see more of, things that you would rather we just kind of skipped over, paved over, what are we thinking?
I thought the just from my feedback, like I think the inter-party dynamics that we had in this session were really satisfying for me. Like there was a little more conflict with Cloud Kills and Ace. There was a little more bonding with Cloud Kills and Sharper, and that to me is a lot of fun. So I thought that was cool. And I guess it just it takes a while for that to come out. So no slams against the other sessions, but I do like those bits.
I was very happy to see that as well. I think maybe our prior sessions were a little bit too targeted and hard framed for us to have that openness, so I was glad to see we have a bit more breathing room. I noticed when I looked at the thumbnails for the previous videos, all three of the ones offered were me, and I was like, am I talking too much? So it was nice to have you guys kind of doing your own scenes, and we're getting to see your characters sort of express themselves a bit more for sure.
I appreciated sort of like having that map there. That did kind of help make things make a little bit more sense for me in terms of what was going on, what the situation was. And I guess like, yeah, I think it all sort of like came together fairly well in this session, but there was definitely sort of a lot of like, all right, what are we doing here? Like trying to figure things out. And so yeah, I mean that's totally fine. But it was it took a little bit of getting used to. I still I still feel like I really sort of like struggle with flags. They're not very intuitive to me, but like I did sort of try to play towards them a little bit more this session, and I was glad that at least my character, because like I wasn't just like the drone person doing drone stuff in the mission, that I actually got to play my character a little bit more in this session. The other sessions I was kind of like just along for the ride and like did a few things here and there, but in this session I did kind of get to play this sort of like self-interested operator. So yeah, that was kind of fun too.
Very cool. So just in general, because I'm a relatively inexperienced GM, would you have liked to have more, I guess, meteor hooks to hook into at the beginning? Would you have wanted me to give you an objective? Do you want that PBTA? What do you do? Is that too open and wide? What do you think? How would you have felt more supported at that early quagmire?
I think that having the job to do definitely helped focus things quite a bit. And I feel like, I guess what I was looking for was maybe a clearer sense of like who the players were that I could interact with. So
as far as like NPCs and stuff like that, you mean?
Yeah, like some kind of like faction handout or something might have been useful. Yeah. So I was kind of doing like a lot of like looking things up online to try to get a sense of like what the situation was and like what kind of things I might be able to use. So yeah, I think just having a sense of that might have been useful. Like, oh, here's the factions at play. Or like here are like the districts of town might have also been useful. Yeah, just like a short list of each of those things might have been cool.
Okay.
I think it's like, oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that I was concerned about like dumping too much information on you because I wanted
to,
yeah. You know, but at the same time, like personally, if this was like a home campaign or whatever, I would have like spent a session like, hey, let's collaboratively like build Bug City. You know, everybody come up with a fact. Yeah. But I was like, you know, we got 2 sessions left. By the time we do that, we're going to have a full session to really look into all this cool stuff we made. But yeah, so I was kind of torn between that. But I think you're right. If I'd prepared like a handout ahead of time, and if I'd had that map, you know, maybe a little bit more, that could have been helpful for you. So thanks.
Just like really brief description would be fine. It doesn't have to be like, oh, here's like the backstory of each of these like factions. Just like, oh, like here's like 4 groups you might be able to work with, or something like that. You know, I think it might be useful in the future. How does everybody else feel about that? Is that something you think you would have liked?
I was going to say, like,
or?
I had some of the same problems. Like I ran 2 sessions so like a mini campaign. They were linked sessions of Earth Dawn at the during GauntletCon. And so it was like the history of Shadowrun. Basically, it's like the fourth world, whereas Shadowrun's the sixth world.
Right.
The same company, so it's got a really dense background and everything. And I had the same problems because it's like there's so much information, and you're playing a PBTA kind of game almost, but like it's hard to do collaborative stuff because so much of that has already been created and it's already kind of canon and everything. I thought so. I agree with your points, Kyle. But I think what I do like is like what Michael did, where he kind of like gave you a mission that was like just for you, and you could kind of like, you know, do what you wanted with it, and you didn't have to tell everybody else about it. It wasn't like, you know, Hand of God, where it was like, this is what you guys are going to do now. It was more like, here's a thing that you guys can follow if you want to. And, you know, I thought that was really cool. If each one of us would have gotten something like that that was maybe slightly at cross purposes, I think that could have been really fun to kind of play around with.
Andrew, what did you think of the sort of woo-woo vision I gave of like, hey, here's an objective you could look into if you wanted to?
Yeah.
Would you have preferred something more concrete, or?
Well, I mean, to take a step back, just as far as general plots go, if we had had a sandbox with a number of possibilities, or we could pick our own and go do it, I'm fully on board with that. If we had started out and it's like, you are here, you're working for these people, and they've asked you to do this, I would have been on board with that. The difficulty that I had was I felt that there were things that we were supposed to do, but we didn't know what they were. So we had to figure out, we had to kind of unearth those fossils in the sandbox, right?
Right.
So it's like, there are things, there are missions that you're supposed to do, but you just don't necessarily know what they are. So you're not doing full sandbox, but you know, you can't quite tell if there is a structure of what you're supposed to do. So I mean, that ambiguity, I would have been more comfortable on either end. Because you know, if we said, you're supporting this place, what do you want to do? It's like, well, hey, let's secure a clean water supply. Let's go do that and figure it out, you know. But I was like, I don't think we have that freedom because there's something else going on here, you know, that we don't want to, you know, that we're supposed to be doing, even though it's not explicit. So I kind of struggled with that a little bit.
I think. Go ahead, Stephen.
I was going to say, like, I'll say too, our team could have decided an objective for ourselves. I think,
right.
You know, none of us were really like, okay, this is what we need to do now. Like, I felt like my character had a really concrete idea of like, okay, Cloud Kills is going to try to make this documentary basically, and like try to figure out some way to get that out. And that wasn't necessarily what you guys wanted to do. I think if we had gotten together, we could have made that decision amongst ourselves too.
Well, and part of it too is the nature of online play, because it's open table, it's short term, and you got 3 hours. So I mean, I tend to shy away from time intensive activities and more be like, okay, what is the thing that the group wants to do so I can support that? Because, you know, I'm reluctant to take a lot of time to have individual solo playing in a 3-hour session, you know, because then it's like, well, everybody gets a piece, but you didn't really play as a group. So I mean, for me, you know, I want to be supportive of what the group is doing.
The fact that we're doing like kind of like 2 mini campaigns and like, or like 2 separate kind of games within this one mini campaign is like really hard to manage from like a GM perspective, right? Because like we did the like very focused thing, and then it was like we're doing a rather different game at this point now, right?
Unless the second thing is also very focused and we just don't know how, and we'll find out as we run into the walls. That's the thing that makes me uncomfortable.
Now that I think about it, I do wish that we would have had a scene where we kind of would have been like, okay, you know, even though we're not on a run, we're still going to function as a Shadowrun team. Like, we're still going to function as a group together. This is what we need to do. I wish we kind of would have had that scene in the beginning when we were, because we all kind of felt that ambiguity. So we probably should have done that.
So maybe if I had brought in the director, having all 3 of you say, here's your mission.
I mean, if that's the direction. If we had had a mission to begin with, I would have been fine with that, because it's online play, 3 hours, open table. Right. So it's like, you know, trying to do a thing and get to the end of a thing is going to always be difficult under those circumstances. So I understand the structure, you know. But I also don't want to come across as being critical, because one of the things that I got to do is make a character I wanted to play, and I got to play him, you know, and I got to do some things that were fun with that guy because, you know, it's up to the players to make their own fun too, you know.
Sure.
And so I got to do that, and I appreciate that.
Well, I felt like this game more than the others, I got to play someone in the Shadowrun world and do what they were gonna do. Because like I actually enjoy that just as much as the run part. The really like tactical kind of simulationist run. For me, the fun is like having a person in this unique environment, and I felt like this really, I got to do that this time. So
And that's the Shadowrunner dream, right? Is to be able to be an independent
Yeah.
force for whatever you think is good.
Well, and also, you know, when you have an open table format and short arcs, it's hard for characters to make friends, you know. And so it's
Yeah.
kind of cool to have the idea that if these characters were to play together enough that they could form a team, you know, and that the next time they played, you'd have some backstory and they'd be able to,
Right.
you know, do something more cohesive than just the four randos who show up for the run, you know.
yeah.
And so I'll chalk a lot of this up to inexperience, right? Because in my mind, I was like, okay, session 1, we'll make characters and we'll do a quick run, and then we'll have plenty of time to go explore the city. Not knowing that would take 2.5 sessions to complete, right? Which was not my idea. I was like, oh, cool. I really want to get in this like side swipe moment for everybody because that's a lot of fun of the whole Bug City thing is like, oh crap, you know, bugs. If I were to do this again, this idea of playing Bug City, I would start at session 1. Let's make characters together. Let's talk about why they're with each other. Let's build Bug City, you know, the containment zone that you're in. I could provide the info dump ahead of time, you know, and then let's collaboratively do some stuff. And yeah, I was kind of stuck at this position where it's like I really wanted to highlight because I felt he got left out a little bit in the past 2 sessions. So I wanted to give him something special. I wanted to see more of his character, and I wanted to bring in this fun and a twist somehow. But I knew that this hot data file of recorded bug spirits, like, you know, the X-Files proof of the existence of alien life or whatever, I knew that was important to Cloud Kills as well. So I was like, I don't want to I don't want to leave that off the table, you know, but so I think in the end it ended up being a little bit confusing and kind of took us a little bit to get through. So I'm hoping now we have a little bit more of a thrust. We're going to go to Catherine. We're going to talk to her. We're going to see how weird she is. We're going to fight some guys maybe along the way. And then we're either going to go to the pier or we're going to go to this thing. And that's where I'm looking for some kind of direction, I suppose, some feelings from you guys. We have this communication tower. Is this a big red herring? Should we just find a way to bring that into the pier so that we can face it all at once? What are we thinking?
So I'll say like from Cloud Kill's perspective, like I've been reading Shadowrun novels and stuff the last couple of weeks just to kind of like see how this stuff works.
Have you read Burning Bright?
Yeah, I've read Burning Bright. And the Melodome stuff is really good too. Because it kind of like gets into team dynamics and stuff. But anyway, like they almost seem to see it like as a mark of professionalism. If even though everyone has their own agendas, they all like focus on just the mission at hand until they get that done. So I think, you know, like Cloud Kills respects Sharper and trusts Ace, even though she's got like this issue with him now or whatever, but that's not really a major thing. So like I think if Sharper or Bogey would just be like, this is what we're doing, you know, that's what would happen, regardless of what her like side stuff is or whatever, you know, she would just do that until it was finished. So I think that's kind of what Cloud Kills would be looking for, is someone to just be like, you know, one of the old hands to just be like, this is what we're doing.
Right. Yeah, and I feel like I mean the way that Ace sees this is like Ace doesn't have any knowledge about these premonitions, right? So he's just like, okay, well, we have this data. We got the job from the director. Let's get in the sub, get out of here, and get this stuff onto the Matrix. Everybody's happy. Problem solved, right? So that's where Ace is coming from. So So if any of you want to like bring up the premonitions as like, hey, this is a serious thing we need to think about. And especially once we have Tages back in the game and we got more of that astral angle of things in play, then maybe we'll go for the tower. If there's like a convincing case to be made, like this is a very pressing, serious issue. Like maybe we could even go to the director and be like, look, like I know you want out of here, but this is beyond just our personal safety. This is something that could affect the whole country, right? Could see that working out too.
The scene I kind of almost see us all building towards, right, is everyone standing on the docks. There's this mini sub with the number of desired people -1 seats. And it's you guys and the director, and certain people are like, we're going to stay behind the containments. There's still work here to be done, is what some heroes might say, or they might say, maybe we could do more work on the outside or whatever. But that's kind of maybe what I would like to see us like get towards.
Okay.
Or we could do something where you kind of talk with the director ahead of time. I don't want to hard frame it too much, but I do know next week we have 3 hours and we have to get a satisfying conclusion in that time. I'm happy with a certain amount of cliffhanger, but I would rather it be the cliffhanger be like, what are the implications of the way that we have managed to deliver this info?
I could also see it happening where, like, I mean, Catherine's going to want something, I would assume, for us to like transit her area, and maybe she knows about the sub. Yeah. So I could also see us hitting the tower, transmitting off the tower, and that might not be like that might not be the documentary. That might be a message that Catherine wants to send, or that might be an SOS, or that might be something completely different. And then us using the sub as an escape plan because it's gotten too dangerous for us to be inside the zone because of the transmission, and we have to bail because of the transmission.
Right.
So then we kind of like wrap everything in.
Like ending scene that we hit if we go that direction. I see.
So in the interest of pacing and timeliness, should we fictionally position this communications tower either en route or near the sub so that we can kind of have these scenes be approximately close?
Yeah,
because you could have a naval research corp that has a base that has the massive communication array and also has the equipment. Part of what I'm struggling with is there's always a gap between the slowdown and ambiguity that paranoia can bring in, and so at some point, when you're playing a cautious character, you just have to relax and let it go. Because for Sharper, he's not sure that we should be breaching the containment zone. He's not sure that we should be sending a transmission because he's not sure how these spirit things work. And bolstering the signal could be the end of the world. So, we may be doing things for the right reasons for utterly disastrous purposes. So as a player, I have to take a step back and say, okay, is that what Sharper's going to go with? Or are we going to relax and say, you know what, that's a remote chance. Let's go ahead and aim for the happy ending,
Another thing that might be cool, like I get that. Another thing that might be cool is if like the individual we need to pick up is associated with the tower, and we split off into 2 teams of 2 again, and like Ace has to go and pick up the sub and rendezvous with us at the tower, which is also on the shoreline, to pick up the person. So we do we decide if we want to do the transmission or not. We jam the person in the sub, and the 2 teams come together, and that would be kind of a cool synchronicity kind of thing, like a team comes together and makes it happen kind of a deal. So that might be a possibility.
Yeah, we really just got the framing for what we're doing tonight, so I hadn't really had a chance to think it kind of all the way through. I'm still just kind of reacting. So,
Well, we have lots of time to think about it this week, but I have some really
Yeah.
good ideas, and I'm feeling confident about coming into next week, at least being able to start things off with a bang, and hopefully that'll get some momentum rolling, some energy going, and we can kind of get through
yeah,
that.
like how much narrative freedom do we have to fill in flashbacks? Like if we were to start talking to Catherine, and then it's like, how did we get here?
Ooh, I'm big into that. Absolutely. I think
I like that.
we can. I'll do a love letter. We'll start off at Catherine's. We'll see who took point. We'll do a little roll. We'll see what you got.
Yeah.
Because I really
Yeah,
don't.
and I think there's like things like, oh, like does the director successfully make it to the submarine? Die of fate. Like let's just still elide that because yeah, because we're pressed for time next time. So yeah, I think there's numerous things about the operation that we can probably just kind of roll it and see how it goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the stakes I'm interested in aren't necessarily. I don't want to see like the director get shot or eaten by a bug along the way, and you know,
We do it.
unless you do it, but I want to see if you can manage to secure this sub. If you manage to not, have to fight Catherine, if you have to fight out of Catherine's camp, I want to see how you disseminate this information, whether it's through the tower or back out in the rest of the country. I want to see what the implications of that might be. That's the sort of things I'm interested in. So I'm hoping to kind of gear our direction to that. But I really love the idea of just starting off in Catherine's camp.
Yeah.
Cool.
And putting the two objectives together, I think, is a good idea for next session. So,
Yeah, I think I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, also, thank you for running. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for playing. You've all been very awesome Shadowrunners. I'm very lucky to have some seasoned Shadowrun people, so I don't have to explain too much. Like, whoa, wait, what's a shaman? Like, oh, okay, let me dial it back. And ultimately, thanks for being guinea pigs, because next month I'm doing this again in a different module, and I'm taking a lot of stuff I'm learning from here, and I'm hoping that that's going to really make for an even better experience next month. So
yeah, that's going to be something else.
Yeah, that one's a little bit
arcology.
It's a bit tighter. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Cool. So I'm gonna stop the broadcast here.
Okay.